Listen to me, ladies. Sometimes the secret to making a man miss you isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but doing it with purpose. Men are hunters by nature. When you're always there, always available, always answering on the first ring, there's no chase. And when there's no chase, there's no value in his eyes. So if you want him to feel your absence deep down in his soul, you got to master the art of pulling back strategically. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they like somebody is being too available. You answer every text within seconds, you're always free when they call, and you rearrange your whole life just to see them. Now, you might think that's showing love, loyalty, and effort, but to a man, that can actually make you seem less valuable. Why? Because there's no scarcity. And human nature is wired to value what's rare, what's not easy to get, and what takes effort to keep. When you're always right there, he doesn't get the chance to feel your absence. And you know what's dangerous about that? If he never feels your absence, he never truly appreciates your presence. The real magic happens when a man starts wondering about you. When he's checking his phone thinking, why hasn't she texted me back yet? When he's driving and that one song comes on that reminds him of you, and it hits him like a punch in the chest because you're not around. That's the moment his feelings grow deeper, not when you're constantly in front of him. Now, I'm not telling you to disappear overnight or start ignoring him out of spite. This isn't about being cruel. It's about being smart. You have to create just enough distance to make him realize you're not a given. You do that by having a life that's full, rich, and busy with or without him. If he calls and you're genuinely out with friends at the gym, working on your career, or just enjoying some me time, that sends a subtle but powerful message you are your own person. And trust me, men respect that. Think about it. If every time he calls, you answer instantly and say, yeah, I'm just sitting here waiting for you. What's the challenge? Where's the thrill? A man will subconsciously start thinking, she's always there. She's not going anywhere. But when sometimes you're not reachable, when sometimes he has to wait to hear back from you, he starts feeling that little itch, that curiosity, that pull. And curiosity is the seed that grows into longing. You see, relationships are just like any other part of life. We crave what we can't fully have. It's human psychology. You buy something expensive not because it's necessarily better, but because it's rare and you can't just get it anywhere. The same applies to you. You've got to be the kind of woman who's not available on every shelf, not open 24/7 like a convenience store. You've got to be that exclusive boutique that people have to make an effort to visit. And I know some of you are thinking, but Steve, if I create space, what if he loses interest? Baby, if a man loses interest just because you're not glued to his side 24/7, he wasn't the right man for you in the first place. A real man, one who's truly interested, will lean in when you lean back a little. He'll step up his game to close that gap. The wrong man will use any excuse to fade out, but the right one will chase harder. That's how you know the difference. Now here's where it gets deep. Creating space isn't just about physical distance. It's also about emotional pacing. Some of y'all give too much too soon. You open up your whole life story in the first week. You talk for hours every single night. You send good morning and good night texts like clockwork. And while that feels romantic in the moment, it can lead to emotional burnout. You've got to leave room for him to miss your voice, to wonder about your day, to imagine what you're doing when you're not talking to him. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Let him send the first text. Let him wonder why you're taking a while to respond. Let him feel that small sting of, I miss her. Because when he feels that, it's not just about you, it's about what you represent in his life. You become the spark, the energy, the thing that breaks up the monotony of his routine. But if you're always there, that spark just becomes another light in the room. You've got to learn the art of subtle unpredictability, not in a toxic way where he never knows if you're interested. No, that's not the goal, but in a way that keeps things fresh. Maybe one night you're free to talk, and the next night you're busy with your own plans. Maybe you usually reply fast, but every now and then you're occupied and take your time. Those little gaps create space in his mind for thoughts of you to grow. And let me tell you something about men. We might not always say it, but we feel it when your energy shifts. If you've been given 100% attention and suddenly you pull back to 70%, we notice. We start asking ourselves, what's she doing? Who's she with? Did I do something wrong? That's when the mind games start. Not the kind you play intentionally, but the kind nature plays for you. His brain starts working overtime to figure out how to get your full attention back. That's when he starts planning dates, calling more often, putting in the effort. This works because it flips the script. Most women chase when they feel a man pulling away. But when you create space intentionally, it's him doing the chasing. And when a man chases, he invests. And when he invests, he values. And when he values, he doesn't want to lose. So understand this. Your presence should feel like sunshine. Everybody loves sunshine, but too much of it at once. People start looking for shade. Space is that shade. It makes the warmth of your presence feel even better when he gets it. Let me tell you something, baby. The most attractive thing you can ever do for a man is not to sit around waiting on him. It's not chasing him. It's not begging for his attention. The most attractive thing you can do is work on you. You've got to make sure that whether he's in your life or not, you're still shining, still moving forward, still living in a way that makes people stop and say, "Who is that?" Now, when I say invest in yourself, I'm not just talking about money, although yes, treating yourself to nice things matters. I'm talking about time, energy, and focus. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you walk into a room. All of that is shaped by how much you've poured into yourself. And here's the truth. When a man sees that you've got a life outside of him, it drives him crazy in the best way. See, some women make the mistake of letting their whole world revolve around a man. They cancel their plans, drop their hobbies, and forget their goals the moment they start dating. And at first, the guy might enjoy the attention, but eventually he starts taking it for granted. Why? Because you've given him the unspoken message that he is the only thing going on in your life. And once a man feels like he's the center of your universe, he stops chasing. He knows he's already got you. But imagine this instead. You've got your career on track. Your side hustle is thriving. You're hitting the gym. You're hanging out with friends. You're learning new skills. And you're traveling when you can. Imagine that when he calls you on a random Tuesday night, you're busy at a painting class or at dinner with friends. You're not ignoring him. You're just living. That right there, that's magnetic, because now he has to fit into your life instead of you squeezing your life around him. And let's talk about self-care for a minute. I'm not just talking about putting on makeup or getting your hair done, although that's part of it. I'm talking about how you feel on the inside. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping enough? Are you reading, learning, growing? Are you feeding your mind and spirit so that you have confidence radiating out of you? Because let me tell you, confidence is the one thing a man can't resist. It's the way you walk into a room without needing anyone to validate you. It's the way you smile because you're genuinely happy, not because you're trying to impress somebody. It's the way you talk about your goals like they're non-negotiable. Men are drawn to that like bees to honey because it tells them you're not desperate. You're desirable. And here's the part most women overlook: when you're invested in yourself, you naturally create that space we talked about earlier. You're too busy living to be glued to your phone waiting on his call. You're not obsessing over what he's doing because you've got your own life to manage. And that energy, that's what makes him think, man, I better step up before she forgets about me. Now, let's get real. Investing in yourself also means leveling up your appearance. Yes, it's about inner beauty, but let's not pretend physical attraction doesn't matter. Keep yourself looking sharp. Dress in a way that makes you feel powerful. When you look in the mirror and say, "I feel good," it changes the way you carry yourself. And trust me, men notice. They notice when you walk in looking like you've got somewhere important to be, even if that somewhere is just brunch with your girlfriends. But it's not just about looks. It's about substance. Work on your skills, your passions, your knowledge. Be the kind of woman who can hold a conversation on more than just gossip or small talk. Be curious about the world. Travel if you can. Take classes. Read books. Try new things. The more layers you have, the more intriguing you become. A man can miss a pretty face, sure, but when he misses the way you challenge him, inspire him, and bring new energy into his life, that's on another level. And let me drop this on you. When you're constantly growing, you keep him on his toes. He never gets the chance to feel like he's figured you out completely. There's always something new about you to discover, and that keeps the attraction alive. That's the beauty of self-investment. It's not about changing for a man. It's about evolving for you, which ironically makes you even more desirable to him. So while he's out there doing his thing, you're doing yours. If he texts you and you're at a yoga class, let him know. If he calls and you're busy studying for a certification, tell him. Those little details plant seeds in his mind. Wow, she's got ambition. She's got her own stuff going on. She's not just sitting around waiting for me. That's when the respect kicks in. That's when the admiration starts growing. And you know what happens next. Respect plus admiration equals attraction. The kind that lasts. Men miss women who inspire them. They miss women who make them feel like they've got to be better to keep up. And when you invest in yourself, you automatically become that woman. You become the standard, not the option. You're not chasing him. You're setting the pace, and he's trying to keep up with you. When he realizes you're not dependent on him for your happiness, but that you choose to have him in your life, that's when the game changes. That's when he starts missing you even when you're in the same room, because he knows deep down that a woman who's fulfilled on her own is the kind of woman other men notice too. And that thought will have him holding onto you tighter. Let me tell you something that most people overlook. A man doesn't miss you just because you're not around. He misses the way you made him feel when you were around. Feelings are what stick. Long after the words fade, long after the exact details of a moment are gone, he'll still remember the way his heart beat faster, the way his chest felt lighter, the way he couldn't stop smiling when you were near. That's the secret. If you want a man to miss you, you've got to give him moments that hit deep enough to replay in his mind when you're gone. Now, these moments don't have to be grand or dramatic. You don't need to rent out a rooftop or plan some Hollywood-style surprise. In fact, the most powerful memories are often the small, intimate ones. It's the way you laughed so hard at something he said that you had to wipe your eyes. It's the way you looked at him when he wasn't even talking, like you were truly seeing him. It's the time you called him out on his nonsense, but did it with love. It's the little habits you had. Maybe you always ordered dessert first, or you hummed your favorite song without realizing it. These things seem simple to you, but to him, they become yours. And when they're yours, they're unforgettable. Here's what you need to understand. Men are visual creatures, but the memories that haunt them are emotional. If you can tap into his emotions, you'll live rent-free in his head. The trick is to be present and intentional when you're together. Put your phone down. Look him in the eyes. Listen when he talks, not just to the words, but to what's underneath them. When a man feels truly heard, truly understood, that sticks with him. He'll remember that connection. And when you're not there, he'll crave it. And here's where the dark tip comes in. You don't have to give him those moments every single time you see him. You want him to remember them, and for that, you have to leave some space in between. If every interaction is equally intense, the special moments get lost in the mix. But if you give him a moment that really hits, a deep conversation, an unexpected adventure, a night where you laughed until your stomach hurt, and then you pull back for a while, his mind will naturally go back to that moment. He'll replay it over and over because there's nothing new to overwrite it. Think about your own life. There are songs that instantly take you back to a certain time, a certain feeling. Maybe it's the smell of a certain perfume that reminds you of someone. Maybe it's the taste of a dish that brings you back to a childhood memory. And these are emotional triggers, and you can create them with a man without even realizing it. If you wear a certain scent when you're with him often, that scent becomes yours in his mind. If you have a favorite phrase or inside joke, every time he hears it, even without you, he'll think of you. Another thing, don't be afraid to surprise him. Predictable is forgettable. But the moment you do something unexpected that hits him emotionally, that's the moment he'll talk about years later. Maybe you planned a small date that reminded him of his childhood. Maybe you took him to a hidden spot in the city with the best view. Maybe you wrote him a note and left it where he'd find it later. These aren't about money. They're about thoughtfulness, about creating moments that matter. But here's the part that really makes it stick. When you leave, let the memory breathe. Don't rush in to create another one immediately. If you're always there, giving him constant access to those feelings, he doesn't have time to long for them. You want him sitting alone on a Tuesday night, thinking about that time you sat on the hood of the car together, watching the stars, and he felt more peace than he'd felt in months. You want him lying in bed, hearing your laugh in his head, and realizing he hasn't heard it in a while. That's when the missing starts. Men don't usually miss people, they miss experiences. But if you can become the source of those experiences, the person tied to those feelings, he's going to associate you with that high. And once a man associates you with a high, he'll keep coming back for more. That's why sometimes a man will leave a relationship, but still check in, still text, still find excuses to see you, because he's chasing the feeling you gave him even if he doesn't realize it. So you've got to ask yourself, what kind of moments am I giving him? Am I just showing up, going through the motions, or am I creating something worth remembering? The truth is, even small acts can leave deep imprints if they're tied to emotion. The key is to be intentional. Don't just spend time, create time. Time that has meaning, time that feels different from the rest of his life. And when you master this, you won't have to wonder if he's missing you. You'll know. You'll see it in the way he looks at you when you come back around. You'll feel it in the way he holds on to certain topics or brings up things you did together out of nowhere. That's how you know those memories are playing on a loop in his mind. And the best part, once they're in there, they're hard to erase. Let me break something down for you. In every relationship, whether people want to admit it or not, there's a balance of power. Now, I don't mean power like control, manipulation, or I'm the boss nonsense. I'm talking about the quiet kind of power. The influence you have over how the other person sees you, treats you, and prioritizes you. And if you want a man to miss you, to value you, you've got to shift that balance so that your presence feels like a privilege, not a right. See, the problem is that too many people give away their power without even realizing it. You start out with standards, boundaries, and a clear idea of what you deserve. But as soon as you start liking someone, you bend those rules. You overlook the little things. You accept less than you should. And before you know it, he's walking around acting like having you in his life is just a normal, everyday thing, like it was guaranteed. That's when the appreciation starts fading. You've got to flip that script. You've got to live in such a way that he's constantly aware of what he has and what he could lose. And the way you do that isn't by threatening to leave. It's by showing that you can leave if you're not valued. It's by holding yourself to a standard where you don't tolerate being treated like an option. That's the power shift. It's not about yelling or arguing. It's about the quiet confidence that says, I know my worth and I don't have to prove it to you. When you operate like that, everything changes. The conversations change. The way he looks at you changes. He realizes you're not just along for the ride. You're the ride. You bring value, energy, peace, and joy, but you're not going to hand it over for free. You require effort, respect, and consistency. And here's the thing. A man might act like he wants it easy, but deep down, men value what they have to work for. It's the chase, the effort, the investment that makes him hold on tighter. Shifting the power also means you stop centering your life around him. You've got your own plans, your own priorities, your own dreams. You can be deeply interested in him, love him even, but you're not dependent on him for your sense of self. That independence is powerful. It sends the message that you're with him because you want to be, not because you need to be. And let me tell you, a man knows the difference. The woman who wants him but doesn't need him is the one he fights harder to keep. You've also got to master the art of not over-giving. Some of y'all are out here pouring a gallon of love into a man who's only giving you a cup back. That's a losing game. You don't match effort. You set the tone. You decide what's acceptable. If he's not meeting your energy, you pull yours back, not to punish him, but to protect yourself. And when you do that, two things happen. Either he steps up to match you, or he fades out and makes room for someone who will. Either way, you win. And here's another piece to this. You've got to create moments where your absence is felt. If you're constantly available, constantly filling his world, he doesn't have time to notice the gap you leave when you're gone. But if you pull back every now and then, spend more time with friends, take a weekend for yourself, dive into a new project, he's going to feel that difference. And that difference is what makes him realize, man, my life is better when she's around. That's the power shift right there. when he sees your presence as something that adds value.